So, Tim, here we are again.
We are. It looks like we've got a couple of people have joined us already.
Yeah, that's great. So really what we, you know, I was saying to you yesterday that it might be good to share a live because we've got an event. Um,
There.
but for those of you who don't know, I'm Muna, also known as Muna Light or Muna Escoffery, and Tim Jones from Quantum Vortex. And we've got quite a story that we ourselves know very, very well. And for those who have experienced the work that we've done together, um, it's been quite something. But when we spoke earlier today, we were talking about maybe sharing how we actually got here, how we got to doing amplified sound with healing modalities. Basically, we both met through resistance. Because we went to an ancestral event in October of 2022. Neither of us wanted to go, but we both sort of reluctantly went. Tim had his work there, and I went as a sound practitioner doing a healing session, which was for around an hour. Might have even been longer actually. Oh God, no, it was longer. It was 30 people, and as I walked through, it was in an outside area. I noticed copper structures and these items. So I'll show a small one. Plates. So this is the chakra set which Tim has made, and there's only three. I'm one of three practitioners, including India Irie, who has one, or should I say, who has the set. So it's the full chakra set. So I saw Tim's work, and in fact I'll just hold up my plate, and I've never seen an orgonite in my life. So this is my personal plate that Tim gifted me for my birthday the following year.
Yeah,
So
following.
this is my beautiful hexagon orgone plate, which is, you can see the detail on that. And I'll have to say that my daughter helped to make some of the triskelions when she went to help you for the day,
Yeah.
or day, whatever it was. And it's very special, but I'll talk a bit more about that story. So in meeting Tim and doing what is essentially a channeled circle, I call it a sounding circle, where people sat on a log. In this case, I asked the question, what would you have this circle know for your greatest and highest good? And what name would you like to be called? People state the name. It doesn't have to be their name. It can be the name that pops in, or an ancestor can be present, and that's the name they share. And then I do a sounding. So often I get an image of an ancestor or ancestors, and there may be a message. I give that message, and I may take on a particular persona. So in your case, it was your grandfather, Gladstone, correct?
Yeah.
And you were towards the end. So I channeled for 30 plus people back to back, and I'd never actually done that before, as in that amount of people. So we met there, and different things happened in that event, but I won't talk about all those different things. But that's where we connected, and by the time I was leaving, I knew instinctively that actually I'd come to meet you. But I went home with that knowing. So that is what that event did. But from that, I spoke to you and said, come down. I've got a group in Crystal Palace, which I'd started that year, 7 months before, in the February, on World Sound Healing Day. And I said, bring your stall, bring your crystals, bring whatever. You came and you did those things, and some of the group started to buy your crystals. But also, I think you didn't really bring so much the big, and I'm just going to show this one. This is another lovely one that you have made for me. And you can talk about this one a bit more in a second. You came, and what started as a 2-hour sound meditation, and some sounded as in me using my voice, because I use my voice as a singer, but by this point I had met other people who then were saying, oh no, do one in December. And I think I did it around the 8th or the 9th. And then you said, should I grid the room, should I put some around the room? This was the start of our deeper work together. By you doing that, the energy started to shift, and we needed more time. So the sessions went from 2 to 3 hours, by the time we went to a new space in the February of 23, more people were attending. We planned our first half-day retreat, which was a 4-hour session. So I would say February and March of 23, I noted that when playing the instruments and sounding and creating the immersive sound journey, there was a intensity and a heightened atmosphere from the organs being in the space, and for when we did the sounding circle. And others, because the group had obviously been coming at this point nearly a year and then up to a year, seeing the shift. So this is what I recognized. And I would say that you, as we were speaking about it, you knew in theory that the organs could amplify sound, but you'd never actually witnessed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And we both witnessed it by you bringing it to the group that I set up, and then by you working with the group essentially. And we've done several events together since that point. And then in the time that we've been apart, we've just been evolving. And now recently we've been to the crop circle in Wiltshire. That was a whole nother thing.
It's just next level now.
That's a whole nother thing energetically. And the level of channeling that has also come through from that gathering together, which you instigated, because we were meeting up where you give another lovely brother friend that we know, Stephen, who you made a bespoke orgone for. So yeah, so this is where we are. So this is us telling our journey.
Yeah.
But also that we have a wonderful event in Crystal Palace where Tim will bring his. I've been calling you the master toolmaker.
I know.
And I know you've been struggling with
it. Makes me blush.
Yeah.
My reflection of
But you are.
But
and
interesting, actually, because I just wanted to say, just from my perspective on that whole story you just shared, I mean, I've also been practicing yoga since 2003, so 22 years this year. I have been to many yoga classes and workshops which incorporated sound healing with yoga. Many times I've been to other workshops led by other teachers where somebody was leading maybe restorative yoga or yin yoga while somebody else was playing sound tools. And I've been to many other sound baths, and I'd never experienced anything like the experience I had with you when you did the sounding circle at that ancestral event.
Yeah.
So it was very clear to me that, and this is something it's quite subjective, and some people may say quite woo-woo, because it's hard to really explain in words, but I've experienced many other sound practitioners who are using the same tools that you're using, so they're generating the same sound frequencies. But speaking for myself, my personal experience with you was far different to any other sound bath I'd ever experienced before. And it was very clear to me that there's something multidimensional occurring here, and it goes beyond the vibration of sound. And then everything you were sharing as you introduced yourself, and I'm just going to call your spiritual gifts and abilities, my experience confirmed everything you were saying. And like you, I didn't want to go to that event either. I was, I was having a whole little argument with myself about it. And in the end, I was like, no, you've committed to it. Just go. It's going to be a wonderful time. And it was very clear that meeting you was one of the key reasons that I was going there, for sure. Yeah. And this offering that has kind of organically grown between us, where we're now offering a combination of yin yoga that is amplified by sound, that is again all amplified and held within an orgone grid. Yeah. It's very powerful, and I think only people that have attended and experienced it can really give a kind of objective summary of their experiences within there. But I mean, we've witnessed some profound things happen, for sure.
I'm going to agree with you there. And I almost don't have words that justify what we've been doing. This has been, you know, as you've said, there are many people who use the same instrument, you know. So if I talk about how I came into sound by the passing of my sister in 2019, September 6th, 1999. And I was a chef, but I've always been a singer from the age of 5. My dad taught me and my siblings to singing gospel music. So I was working at the Royal Horticultural Halls where the Mind, Body and Spirit used to be, so it was much smaller then. And I only got to pop up in my break, you know, because we were busy making all the foods. I used to do the flower show there, wedding show, chocolate show, and so and so and so. The transition from being a chef, doing youth work as an 18-year-old into sound came very natural in terms of someone said to me, do you think you can do a workshop for children? So I basically, 6 months after my sister made her transition, hanged up my jacket, took my knives, left my boots and said, I'm done with catering. There must be more to my life. You know, my sister passed from deep vein thrombosis, a blood clot in her right leg. And when she came back from a 10-day tour, she had told her friend, I will not live long, I will die young. And she died on flight coming back from Singapore. This was a very big shattering to my family and myself. And my marriage had broke up 2 years before. So this was the second thing. And I really at that point thought something needs to change. So this offering of, can you do a workshop? I left my catering career of 15 years. I had made head chef and I did this big assembly with these kids. I'd never done it. I had a bit of paper with some notes of the songs. I had a little tambourine and I mentioned to the kids, so it must have been October, that it was going to be my birthday. And all these kids queued to hug me. It was the most bizarre thing. But what I'd also noted as a child was when I would go to the park with my family, kids would draw to me like I was the Pied Piper. And I'd say, oh, I'm sorry, you know, to the parents. And the kids would want to play with me and I'd sing and I'd do funny little things. I would say that I was always called to work with children and any being that wants to connect. And I can say that because I note that from a child, children and babies and toddlers resonated. So as I went into schools, went into prison work, young offenders, I started writing songs to honor my sister, who was a songwriter, storyteller from the age of 9 and 10, very profound, deep stories. I got into this world of coaching and facilitating. I'm not a trained teacher, I'm an artist, you know, born into artistry through my family. But that journey of teaching children in multiple schools, college, then uni, by the time I got to teaching in a college that became a uni called London, LCCM, London Centre for Contemporary Music, the name has now changed. I've run a 2-year course called Soulful Voice, and the students would say, I came in feeling really bad. And as soon as I leave, I feel 100% better every single time. So one student who I didn't know was a psychotherapist said, what you're doing, Marsha, he was Australian, what you're doing, Marsha, is healing. And I said, you know, I didn't take any notice. And he kept repeating it. I ended up writing holistic healing songs with him and did my first sounding in 2017 when I'd finished my first sound healing qualification, which I looked up in 2010 and said, wow, there's something called sound healing. Now, the strange thing about that, I was actually already intuitively doing it by people coming for singing lessons, always coming for singing, but it was healing. So I would, what I now know was scanning their body, listening to their voice, watching their reactions, and I would say, oh, the issue is here, it's stuck here. And I would get my, you know, clients to sing into their body. I would place my hands, I would sing into their body. 2014, fast forward, when I started to train, I saw the teacher lay someone on a therapy bed and do the body scan and all these things. I said, I've been doing these things for years, at least, let's have a look, quite a few years at that point. And when I had my daughter and she would hurt herself, I would sing heal and wrap her in a blanket and put crystals. So this form of singing, sounding, you know, was, yeah, I don't even know. So when I started training, I already had I'm just going to call it an innate toolkit
Yeah.
I was utilizing and intuitively using crystals. This carried on through my years of teaching in schools, choir, kids just resonating, always trusting me to come with their problems, advocating. And then when I trained, got into sound healing, what I started to notice was, yes, there's a format to the modality, but when I was doing all the case studies, so many things were happening visually. I was connecting to the person's aura. If something had happened to the person, I could see into their body and gently say to them, did something happen to you when you were 8? You know, and for a particular lady, I could see the fetus, the unborn child that they didn't have,
Mm.
and connecting it. When I tell you, it was so bizarre yet surreal. So when I wrote my paper to pass the exam, I wrote over 7,000 words and had to chop it down to 3. My friend Asura, who's a shaman, helped me. Stayed up all night till, you know, getting. I realized that I was, even at that stage, connecting on a much deeper level.
Yeah.
See what I could hear, what I could sense, and I wasn't sure how much I should put in my paper. So I took a guess and just put what I thought I could not get away with. And the teacher said, that is such a clear pass. You know, she said, I haven't read anything like this in
Wow.
years, right? And the journey has continued in me stepping out bit by bit, sharing more and more. I've not been interested in these massive followings and blah, blah, blah. So I've done things a lot community based. People somehow find me. But what it feels like now is it is, as we have been growing and evolving in these years of this doing, we are actually expanding out.
Absolutely.
So one of the things, as I see lots of offerings, and no disrespect to anyone, we have decades of experience and knowing between us on our individual and collective.
Yeah.
And, you know, lovely to see you, Kathy Mingo. Thank you for joining. Uh, um, what I know is that when I'm sounding, whether I'm playing the instruments or using my voice, I can hear my voice expand into the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Um, do you recall the hope that,
At the crop circle last week.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I apparently have damaged vocal cords, apparently. No, really, they put the camera in. But when I did the Hope concert last July, which I instigated, and you came to that, there was no mic. The mic didn't work, and I think it wasn't meant to work.
Mm.
Janice had tested it the night before, but on the day, I'm just gonna just do this. I feel my voice do this, open, both ways and that way. And
Yeah.
when the sound comes out and fills the room, this is not from me. It is
Yeah.
through me,
Yeah.
right? And there's different things that have occurred where I feel like my whole body has lifted above myself. And one of the ladies in the group said, I thought you were there, but then you were behind me. And then I saw you all around the room. This indicates to me that in doing this work, there is something very different and special that is occurring. So the offering that I make with my local group for the last just under 3.5 years, and what you are doing, and then us together, and us including people like Kathy Minga, who I've just connected with through you, Tim. This is now set to expand out further.
It's great. I'm glad to see. I don't know if you're still there, Kathy. We might have dropped off, but it's interesting. We should mention Kathy, and she should join the call because I've also, and again, with the greatest respect to everybody, but I've gridded spaces with multiple people now, and there's what I can only describe as an amplification of the power and energy of the orgones. I've been making them on a daily basis for several years now. I'm very used to the energy of them in my home. I've taken them to stone circles, I've taken them to crop circles, and I can feel the increase in the energy when I take them to those sacred sites and how that energy is held within.
Yeah.
But there's an experience I've had with only two people, yourself being one and Kathy Mingo being the other,
Yeah.
where it's like everything is multiplied and amplified in ways that goes beyond what can be explained with logic. And my only explanation is that you are both clearly channeling and pulling in higher dimensional spiritual energies into these pieces somehow, and these higher dimensional beings are working through them as you're working, because this is the only way I can describe it, and it's something that it can't really be described, it can only be experienced. For anyone listening, it'll be really hard to really grasp what we're saying, unless, and not that I'm trying to sell the event, but just like you have to kind of be there to get it. And I also really hope and suspect that Kathy Mingo and you and I will be working together
Yeah.
in some workshops as well at some point. I feel that's probably bound to just organically align at some stage in the future.
Well, we're already lining up, and when you spoke to me about Kathy before, I've interacted now, and her some of the experience of when with these tools. So if I just talk about, and I've shown it already, but I'll lift it again. So I'm part of a remote healing group. About 6 months after receiving this, I heard, go and get the plate. So I got it, and I think I placed it on the table, and then I was guided to place it just here, so above my heart. And I'm just going to say that the center of it opened up, and then every corner lit up, and everyone on the call, Zoom, which was 6 of us, I could see light connecting us all. And in the work that we did globally, that light went out like a dome. Now that sounds like a very strange / unbelievable experience, but that is just a snippet of energetically connecting, and then connecting to other, I'm just going to say realms / dimensions. Now, I would have never guessed that would have happened, even though I've connected to beings from other dimensions many times before. But now what has happened is there is a consistency that is so otherworldly. I won't even go into it here because, I don't want someone knocking my door and cutting me off. No. um, um, it is so profound. But one of the things that happens a lot is my singing voice it is a channel. And even when I went to a singing circle yesterday, I felt my tell, and an opening happens, and I was sat by an autistic Downs boy, and he had already had an hour in the circle and got emotional. But then when we started up again after a short break, he kept looking up at me. He was lying on the floor, and as I was sounding and humming and harmonizing, he just kept looking at me and like, and I didn't really sort of pay what's the word? It's not that I wasn't paying any attention. I was observing that he was observing me, and then he spoke to me at the end and said, your voice. And he was very chatty, and his mom and close friend was saying, he's never like this. He was rapping in the circle, and we had a really great short conversation, and I said, can I get a hug? He doesn't hug. He hugged me, and he was like, yeah. And he was on fire. And I just sometimes sense that my voice comes out and around and just goes everywhere.
Yeah.
And
There's that.
yeah,
That's,
it's not a
yeah.
technique. It's
Yeah. Exactly.
So what we do as practitioners, but that seems like a bit of a, I don't know, today's day's word. The word that's coming is we are architects. In my previous lifetimes, I've always been an architect or a master of sound in some shape or form. That is what I know with Octorian Lemurian and some other work that I've done, much less in this lifetime. So the yoga, so the voice opening, so I do a very natural breathing process. I don't want to call it breath work per se. I'm not a qualified breath person, but I am a professional singer. So I do some breathing leading into voice and movement, which is gentle. And then we will go into the yoga. So the spontaneous soundings, the yin practice to sound. So it is an overall wellness event. However, because the space will be gridded, we will do the movement through sound, as in immersive sound. Fruit break, I will also do voice sounding, sound sing toning. It will come as it's intended to come. So I'm just the vessel, I'm just the channel. So my voice is utilized. I play, it's called a free note, it's like a xylophone. And I tend to sound through that in the bowls. My sound opens when that occurs, and that's the sound that the participants receives, you know. And on this occasion, we will probably do the sounding circle, which is, I'm saying it here, which I don't generally say, it is a channeled circle.
Yeah.
So, you know, these are deep practicing. So I've started calling these events in-depth healing or wellness modalities. You know, it's a mixed modality event. And if this resonates with you and you would like to experience it, you know, then get in touch so that you can come on, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to add a little bit for the yin yoga part, what we'll be doing, we'll be asking everyone to set some intentions for the day, and that will be something that you would like to release and something that you would like to call in. And then when we do the yin practice, is going to be very gentle and very simple yoga poses that we will just relax into and hold for a long time. And what this does is it creates a deep stretch. So we've got many layers of the body. One of those layers is the connective tissue. And there's 3 layers of connective tissue. You've got the epimysium, the outer layer, the perimysium, the middle layer, and the endomysium, which is the deepest layer. And the epimysium is the layer that is targeted by acupuncture needles.
Yeah.
And so what this will do is it will really open up the meridians of the body. We've each got a unique skeleton, so we're each going to find there'll be one pose where we're just going to feel almost like a level of vulnerability, and it will be a deep ache in the stretch, push into pain, and then we're going to draw our attention and intention to where we're feeling that with our consciousness, and then this is going to amplify the effect, the healing effect of both the sound and the orgone energy field within those tissues. And so where it's going to be affecting us, we could say on the 3D level in the physical body, but then this is going to also be filtering out to more and more subtle levels through the various energetic bodies. So it will be a very deep mixed modality healing for sure.
Yeah, looking forward to it, to working with you again.
Yeah, likewise.
But also, I always have such a sense of I'm in service, you
Yeah,
know. So whatever comes through. So whenever these workshops have come together, I never ever sit down and write out anything because I'm just open to what needs to come through.
exactly.
All I do is bring the instruments and bring what needs to come. And often I see it like a little, like a flash up vision, you know, out of the 9 bowls, crystal bowls, for instance, 16-inch, 14, 12, 10s. I don't just grab the lot, you know, maybe some practitioners work like that, but because I was an intuitive first and trained, I work with what indicates to me intuitively. Now that may sound strange, but that is how I work.
Yeah,
And
it doesn't strange at all. It sounds like a higher form of intelligent
yeah,
work, um, because you're guided primarily by your intuition upon the foundation of all of the training that you've had, as am I.
yeah,
So it's quite a unique combination, I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
If this sounds like something you want to experience with us, with the experience and the what comes through us, the blueprints of Tim's work, and I said it earlier today, and I know Tim doesn't like me saying stuff like this, but I call Tim the master toolmaker. These orgones, if you really look closely, the detail, this is really something else. You know, just as I say that I'm worked through, I know that beings and Gaia and other higher intelligence works through Tim to create these. Obviously, the base is his actual scientific knowledge and crystal expert knowledge. But, you know, anyone can maybe throw these together and, you know, put it into a mold and so forth. But that's not what this is. And for somebody like myself, working with these energetically, what occurs is something completely different and otherworldly. This is what I have found, and that's why I say you are a master toolmaker, because energetically connecting to these instruments has allowed not just Gaia but other intelligences to work with this being, this vessel, and that is really something else, you know.
That
So
means the world to me to hear. Actually, I've got a few here that I thought I might quickly show. Just to give an example, I won't start launching into the details of how I make these. I think that's maybe for another live.
mhm.
But yeah, they're each made primarily. Each of these components has a very scientific function.
Yeah,
So designing them, thinking about how each component is going to move the energy first. And then once I have that in mind, then I think about, okay, how do I make it look pretty? So these components are just decoration. They each have an energetic function, and they're each built with a specific intention in mind. The pyramids are really good for projecting energy out of each face in all directions, so they'll energize a space.
yes,
And then the plates, these work, it's more like a torch beam. So if you've got it flat, it's more like a beam of energy projecting upwards, or if you were to stand it on its edge,
yes,
project that energy across the room.
mhm,
These are very good for charging anything you place on top of them, such as food or water, or even sitting on it as a meditation seat. And what we do in the sounding circle is we put one of these plates underneath the chair. So in the recent reel that we put out yesterday, we've actually had Tinu on the chair with a plate underneath.
yes,
And what I also did, so this is a harmonizer from Orgone brother Muna's Magica, who also makes orgones and harmonizers. And again, intuitively, I place this on top of the plate,
mhm.
add that underneath the chair for the sounding circle. So I think this combination of tools
Mm.
offers a level of modality vibrational healing that is a very unique offering. So yeah, do message us if you'd like to learn more, and we'll put out more information in due course.
We will. I just had another thought. So something we spoke about earlier today as well. So the other thing is, so my group takes a break after June. So what we will consider is, in your area, one of the things we'd like to do is to do a day's workshop. So it's not for you to learn how to make orgones, etc., like that, but just to understand and to experience what it is to be in a gridded space with sounding and with yin yoga. And these mixed modalities that we're talking about. So this has all been very south. Some people say, oh, when are you coming north? When are you coming north? So, you know, yeah,
Yeah.
DM and we will do our best to make that happen somewhere near you. So all being well, let us know if you would like to attend. If you can't come, you can gift it to someone. So if you do require a concession of some description, please DM either myself or Tim to make that happen. There's only 16 places. However, not all 16 are available. There are some available. So in Crystal Palace, Southeast London, very easy to get to once you're off transportation. It's at an osteopath's 10 Westow Street, 3 SE19 3AH is the postal code. And, you know, just get in touch and we'd love to see you and work with you. Sending you so much love and light. Look forward to speaking with you again soon, Tim.
Emmy, thanks everybody. Bye bye.